I stood in Emily Hayes's kitchen, watching blue and red lights paint the white walls in slow, sickening rotations. The front door hung open behind me, swaying slightly in the October wind. Rain had blown in across the hardwood floor, pooling near the threshold. A pot sat abandoned on the stove, its contents burned black, smoke still hanging thick near the ceiling. The acrid smell stung my nostrils. On the counter, a baby monitor crackled with static. I heard a soft whimper from upstairs. Her car keys sat in a ceramic bowl by the door. Her purse hung on a chair. Everything about this scene screamed wrong. I picked up her phone from the counter with a gloved hand. The screen was still unlocked, battery at 12%. An unfinished text message glowed in the dim light. "He's here." Just 2 words. No punctuation. No recipient selected. Like she'd been interrupted mid-thought. I looked around the room again. No signs of struggle. No overturned furniture. No blood. Just an empty house with all the pieces of a life still in place, except for the woman who lived it. Emily Hayes was gone, and something about the stillness felt deliberate. Lydia Hayes burst through the front door before I could stop her. She was barefoot, her hair wild, mascara streaking down her rain-soaked face. She'd driven here from 2 towns over after Emily's neighbor called, panicked because the baby wouldn't stop crying and no one answered the door. "Emily!" Lydia screamed into the house, her voice raw and desperate. "Em, where are you?" I tried to guide her back outside, but she shoved past me, running from room to room. She checked the bathroom, the closets, even pulled back the shower curtain. Her hands shook as she touched Emily's shoes by the door, her jacket still hanging on the hook. Upstairs, the baby continued to cry, oblivious. Lydia collapsed in the doorway, her knees hitting the wet floor. A neighbor stood on the porch, arms wrapped around herself. "She wouldn't just leave," the woman whispered. "Not Emily. Not without her son." I knelt beside Lydia, trying to help her up, but she was already sobbing, her whole body shaking. Behind us, my partner radioed for additional units. His voice was calm, procedural. No signs of foul play. Those words hung in the air like a death sentence. "Let me tell you who Emily Hayes was before that night. Before the case file. Before the headlines. Before everything fell apart. 6 months earlier, she was rebuilding. That's what everyone said. Rebuilding after a brutal divorce. Rebuilding her confidence. Rebuilding a life for herself and her son. She worked night shifts as a hospice nurse at Maple Hollow Care Center. Her coworkers loved her. They said she had this way of making dying patients feel less afraid, like she could sit with grief and not turn away from it. She sang to them sometimes, old hymns and folk songs. She held their hands when family couldn't make it in time. Emily was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, who brought homemade soup when someone was sick, who never complained even when she was drowning. Friends remembered her saying something that stuck with me later. When I was alone in the archive room at 3 in the morning, reading through old statements, she'd said, "If anything ever happens to me, don't let them say I just left." She said it at a church potluck, said it laughing, like it was a joke. But her friends saw her face afterward, how the smile didn't reach her eyes. No one understood what she meant. Not then that Emily's ex-husband was named Derek Hayes, corrections officer, built like someone who spent too much time in the prison gym, with a buzz cut and cold eyes. He had friends everywhere in Maple Hollow, especially in the police department. Derek graduated from the same academy as half our precinct. He played poker with the chief. He knew everyone's secrets. When Emily filed for custody modification 3 months before she disappeared, people noticed. The lawyers talked. The court clerks whispered. Derek didn't take it well. He showed up at her work twice, standing in the parking lot, just watching. Emily filed a restraining order. It was denied. Insufficient evidence of threat. 2 weeks before she vanished, Emily reported an incident. She said one of Derek's friends, Officer Dean Rollins, came to her house on a noise complaint that didn't exist. Said Rollins walked through her home too slowly, touching things, asking questions that felt like warnings. She called 911 that night, scared. But when I later searched for that call, it wasn't there. The dispatcher claimed no record existed. Emily's phone log showed the call lasted 4 minutes. Our system showed nothing. That should have been a red flag. It wasn't. Not to anyone but her. The morning after Emily disappeared, I sat across from my lieutenant in his cramped office. He had Derek's file open on his desk. I could see the academy photo clipped to the folder. No Amber Alert. I asked. He shook his head. Not a custodial interference case. Kid's still in the home, unharmed. But Emily's missing. Or she left. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. You read the file. Messy divorce. She's been unstable, threatening to take the kid away. Maybe she couldn't handle the pressure. I stared at him. Her keys are inside. Her phone. Her wallet. People leave things behind when they run. His tone was final, dismissive. We'll file a report. Do a welfare check. But we're not launching a manhunt for a woman who probably just needed space. I wanted to argue, but I saw it in his eyes. The decision was already made. Derek was one of theirs. Emily was the outsider, the troublemaker, the woman who wouldn't stay quiet. The file went into a cabinet marked voluntary departure. No search warrant, no public appeal, just silence that I left his office feeling sick. 2 years passed before I opened that file again. 2 years of other cases, other victims, other emergencies. But Emily Hayes never left my mind. I'd see her sister sometimes at the grocery store, looking older, defeated. I'd drive past Emily's old house and see the windows dark that I transferred to the cold case unit on a Tuesday morning in September. The archive room smelled like dust and old paper. Metal filing cabinets lined the walls, each drawer stuffed with forgotten lives. I told myself I was there to review unsolved burglaries. That was a lie. I went straight to the age section. Found Hayes, Emily. The folder was thin, too thin. A missing person case should have witness statements, search records, phone dumps. This had a 2-page incident report and a single photo of Emily smiling, holding her son, but something caught my eye. The last known location pinged from her phone. It didn't come from a cell tower. It came from our own server. Someone in the department had accessed her phone remotely the night she vanished. I checked the timestamp. 11:43 p.m., right around when she disappeared. I looked at the user log. The access code belonged to Officer Dean Rollins. My hands started shaking. I requested the full data logs from IT the next morning. The tech was young, nervous. He kept glancing at the door while his fingers flew across the keyboard. You sure you want to pull this? He asked. Why wouldn't I? He hesitated. This file's been flagged. Internal review. By who? He swallowed hard. Lieutenant's office. 2 years ago. It's marked resolved. Show me anyway. He clicked through screens, his face pale in the monitor's glow. Audio files appeared. Bodycam footage. Dispatch recordings. But large gaps existed where data should be. Deleted. Scrubbed. Someone had gone through this case and erased anything that mattered. Except they missed one thing. A backup recording from the 911 system, automatically stored off-site. The call Emily made the night Rollins visited her house. The call that supposedly never happened. I plugged in headphones and listened. Emily's voice was shaking, scared. There's a police officer at my door, and I didn't call anyone. He's asking to come inside. I don't feel safe. The dispatcher tried to calm her. Then the audio cut out. Just static. The call log showed it lasted 4 minutes. The recording stopped at 42 seconds. I needed to talk to Rollins. I couldn't just accuse him, not without more evidence, not with his connections. So I did what any smart detective does. I lied. I called him, said I was reviewing old cases for a training seminar, asked if he'd meet me for coffee to discuss proper welfare check procedures. He agreed immediately, too quickly, like he'd been expecting this call. We met at a diner on the edge of town. He wore civilian clothes, jeans and a flannel shirt, but he still looked like a cop. That rigid posture, that constant scanning of the room. I asked casual questions at first. About his career, his family. Then I mentioned Emily Hayes. His coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. That was handled, he said quietly. Handled how? She left. It happens. He set the cup down too hard. You shouldn't be asking about that woman. It's closed. Her sister still files inquiries. Her sister needs to move on. His smile didn't reach his eyes. We all do. I watched him leave the diner 10 minutes later. Watched him get in his truck. And then I followed him. He didn't go home. He drove straight to Derek Hayes' property, 15 miles outside town. I parked down the road, hidden by trees, and watched through binoculars. Derek's property was isolated, surrounded by dense woods and overgrown fields. A small house sat at the end of a gravel driveway. Behind it, a barn and a shed. Rollins and Derek stood by the shed, talking. I couldn't hear them, but their body language was tense. Rollins gestured sharply. Derek shook his head, then pointed toward the shed door. Rollins looked around, paranoid, before following him inside. They stayed in there for 20 minutes. When they emerged, Rollins looked shaken. Derek clapped him on the shoulder, like reassuring a frightened child that I took photos with my phone, documented the time, the location. Then I drove back to the station and started digging into property records. Derek had bought this land 8 years ago, right after marrying Emily. The shed was built 3 years later, permitted as agricultural storage, but something bothered me. I pulled up satellite imagery from different years. The shed's footprint expanded in the year before Emily disappeared. It looked bigger, deeper, like someone had added a basement level. That's when I remembered Emily's old text messages, saved in the case file. She'd texted Lydia months before vanishing. "Smells like gas down here. Derek used to fix this stuff for me." Emily had a basement, but this shed wasn't supposed to have one. I confronted my lieutenant the next morning, walked into his office without knocking, dropped the evidence on his desk. The photos, the server logs, the deleted 911 call that he barely looked at it. "Cruz, you're stepping into politics. A woman is missing. A woman left her home voluntarily." He stood up, leaning over the desk. "You keep digging, you're going to make enemies. Powerful enemies. Is that what you want?" "I want the truth." He laughed, bitter and cold. "The truth? The truth is Derek Hayes has friends in the mayor's office. The truth is Rollins has been on the force 20 years. The truth is you're a detective with 3 years experience trying to reopen a case that embarrasses everyone involved. She deserves justice. She deserves to be left alone," he snapped. "Drop it. That's an order." I walked out of his office knowing I couldn't drop it, knowing I was about to cross a line I couldn't uncross. That night, someone slashed all 4 of my tires. My home security camera caught a figure in dark clothes at 3:12 a.m., face hidden. They stood at my door for a full minute, just watching. Then they left. I went to see Lydia the next day. She lived in a small apartment across town, photos of Emily covering every wall. Her son, now 3 years old, played with blocks on the floor while we talked. "Do you still have Emily's things?" I asked. "From the house." Lydia nodded, disappearing into a bedroom. She returned with a cardboard box. Inside were Emily's journals, old phones, letters. I sifted through them carefully, looking for anything the original investigation missed. That's when I found it. A letter, hidden inside a children's book in the bottom of the box. Emily's handwriting, dated 1 week before she vanished. "Lydia, if you're reading this, something happened. Don't believe them if they say I left. I would never leave my son. Derek has been watching the house. Rollins came by again last night. They're planning something. I can feel it. I hid a key in the nursery mobile, the one that looks like stars. If I'm gone, use it. It opens the place I'm most afraid of." My hands trembled as I read it again. "Did you find this before?" Lydia shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "The police cleared out her house so fast. They boxed everything. I never went through it all. I couldn't. The nursery mobile. Do you know where it is?" "Evidence locker. They said I could have it back after the case closed." I retrieved the mobile from evidence that afternoon. It was a cheap thing, plastic stars on thin strings, the kind that plays tinny lullabies. I examined each piece carefully. The third star from the left had a small slit in the bottom, carefully resealed. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a brass key. Stamped on it was a single letter, H. I drove to Emily's old house first. Tried the key in every lock. Nothing fit. I tried the doors, the windows, even the mailbox. The key didn't belong to this house. H. Hayes, Derek's last name. 2. I sat in my car outside Emily's place, staring at the key. Then it hit me. The shed. The one on Derek's property. The one with the mysterious basement addition that I couldn't get a warrant. Not with my lieutenant blocking me. Not with Rollins and Derek's connections. But I could leak what I had to the press. Let public pressure do what the department wouldn't. I called a journalist I trusted. Gave her copies of everything. The deleted calls, the server logs, the photos of Rollins and Derek at the shed. She said she'd run it in 48 hours. That gave me 2 days to prepare for the fallout. The story broke on a Wednesday morning. Local police accused of cover-up in missing mother case. The journalist didn't hold back. She included the timeline, the evidence tampering, the connections between Derek and the department. By noon, the story had gone viral. By evening, protesters gathered outside the station. Lydia gave a tearful interview, holding Emily's photo. "They buried my sister twice," she said. "Once when she died, Once when they closed the case, my lieutenant called me into his office. He was furious, red-faced, shaking. "You leaked this. I did my job. You destroyed careers. Rollins is on administrative leave. The chief is facing an inquiry. Derek Hayes is lawyering up. Good. Maybe now we'll get a real investigation." He pointed at the door. "You're suspended. 2 weeks. Pending review." I smiled. That's fine. I wasn't planning to be here anyway. Because while he was yelling at me, a judge across town was signing a search warrant for Derek Hayes' property. The public outcry had forced their hand. They couldn't ignore this anymore that I drove straight to Derek's land. News vans were already there. Officers in tactical gear approached the shed. Derek stood by his house, arms crossed, smirking. "It's just tools," he called out. "You're wasting taxpayer money." I held up the brass key. "Then you won't mind if we look inside." The shed door resisted at first. The lock rusted from disuse. When it finally opened, the smell hit us immediately. Damp earth, mildew, something else underneath, something wrong. Inside was exactly what Derek said. Tools, workbenches, old paint cans. But I noticed the floor. Fresh concrete, poured in a strange pattern. Too smooth, too new compared to the rest of the structure. The cadaver dog arrived an hour later. The handler led the German shepherd through the shed twice. On the third pass, the dog sat down in front of the concrete floor, scratching at it, whining. "We've got a hit," the handler said quietly. Excavation equipment arrived at dawn the next morning. I stood outside the police tape, watching. Lydia was there too, holding her nephew, both of them silent. The concrete cracked under the jackhammer. Beneath it, they found a sealed basement room, hidden, deliberately concealed. The kind of space you build when you want to hide something permanent. Inside that room, wrapped in plastic, they found Emily Hayes. She'd been there the whole time. 2 years. Buried under Derek's shed while the police called her disappearance voluntary. While her son grew up without her. While her sister begged for help and got nothing. I felt my knees give out. The medical examiner's report came back 3 days later. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head. Time of death, approximately the same night she disappeared. She'd been placed there almost immediately. Derek Hayes was arrested at his home, calm, almost bored. His lawyer issued a statement. Mr. Hayes maintains his innocence and looks forward to his day in court. But Rollins was nowhere to be found. When officers went to his house, they found it empty. His truck was still in the driveway, but he was gone. I knew what that meant before the call came in. A jogger found Rollins's body in the woods behind the high school that afternoon. Single gunshot to the head. His service weapon beside him. Suicide, the scene suggested. But I wasn't convinced. Dead men don't talk. Dead men don't testify. Rollins's death was too convenient, too perfectly timed. I sat in the parking lot outside the station, listening to dispatch chatter. Derek was in interrogation. His lawyer was advising silence. The prosecutor was preparing charges. Everything was falling into place for a trial. But something felt incomplete. Emily's letter had mentioned they're planning something. Plural, not just Derek. Who else was involved? I went through Rollins's personnel file that night, after most of the department went home. His career was unremarkable until 5 years ago. Then he received 3 commendations in rapid succession, all signed by my lieutenant. I pulled my lieutenant's file next. Found something interesting. He'd received a campaign donation from Derek Hayes 2 years ago when he ran for county sheriff. Lost the election, stayed lieutenant. But the connection was there. I started mapping relationships. Derek knew Rollins. Rollins reported to my lieutenant. My lieutenant shut down Emily's case. A perfect triangle of silence. But proof was different than suspicion. I needed something concrete. Something that directly tied them to Emily's murder and the cover-up. That I thought about the deleted server logs. About who had access to erase them. Not just Rollins. Someone higher up. Someone with administrative privileges. I logged into the IT system, using credentials I probably shouldn't have had access to. Found the deletion records. The user account belonged to my lieutenant. He'd personally scrubbed Emily's 911 call from the system 2 hours after she disappeared. He knew. He'd always known that I printed everything. Every log, every deletion record, every suspicious connection. Put it all in a folder and walked straight to the district attorney's office the next morning. The DA was a woman named Patricia Vance, sharp-eyed and skeptical. She listened to everything without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "This is a lot of accusations. It's a lot of evidence. Against a police lieutenant, a decorated officer who helped bury a murder. She studied the papers for a long moment. If I pursue this, careers end. Lawsuits follow. The whole department comes under federal review. Emily Hayes is dead because people like him protected her killer. Patricia nodded slowly. Give me 48 hours. Don't talk to anyone about this. Especially not your lieutenant. I left her office feeling exposed, like I'd just painted a target on my back. But I'd done what I could. The rest was up to the system. That night, my phone rang at 2 a.m. unknown number. I answered, heavy breathing on the other end. Then a man's voice, distorted, "You should have stayed out of this." Derek Hayes' trial began 4 months later. The courthouse was packed. News cameras lined the streets. Lydia sat in the front row every single day, her son with a family friend, her eyes never leaving Derek's face. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. The custody battle, the threats, the timeline of Emily's disappearance, the hidden basement room, the physical evidence that Derek's lawyer argued self-defense, claimed Emily attacked him during an argument about custody, claimed he panicked, hid the body, didn't know what else to do, claimed Rollins had nothing to do with it. But the jury heard the deleted 911 call, finally played in open court. Emily's terrified voice, "There's a police officer at my door and I didn't call anyone." They heard the IT expert testify about the scrubbed server logs. They heard the forensic evidence about the concealed basement, built months before Emily died. This wasn't panic. This was premeditation. My lieutenant was called as a witness. He denied everything. Said he made judgment calls based on the information available. Said he had no knowledge of any cover-up. The prosecutor played his deletion logs on a screen for the entire courtroom to see. His face went white. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. When they returned, the room fell silent. I stood in the back, holding my breath. Guilty. First-degree murder. Guilty on tampering with evidence. Guilty on abuse of a corpse. Derek showed no reaction, just stared straight ahead as the judge read the verdict. Life in prison without possibility of parole. Lydia collapsed, sobbing. People around her reached out, holding her up. Justice, finally. But it felt hollow, empty, because Emily was still gone. Her son would still grow up without a mother. 2 years of his life had passed where he might have had closure, grief counseling, truth. Instead, he had confusion and lies. My lieutenant was arrested that afternoon, charged as an accessory after the fact, obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence. He posted bail and went home to await trial. I sat in my car outside the courthouse, watching the news vans pack up, watching the protesters disperse. I thought about Emily's letter, about her final words. Don't let them say I just left. We'd proven she didn't leave. But had we done enough? I resigned from the Maple Hollow Police Department 3 weeks after Derek's conviction. I couldn't stay. Not after everything I'd seen, everything I'd learned about how the system protected its own. Patricia Vance offered me a job as an investigator in her office. I took it. Different work. Same mission. The department faced a federal investigation. Dozens of old cases were reviewed. 3 more officers resigned. The chief stepped down. They brought in new leadership, promised reforms, promised transparency. But I'd heard those promises before. Emily's old house sold to a young couple with a baby. They didn't know the history. Maybe that was for the best. Maybe homes shouldn't carry ghosts. Lydia moved away, took her nephew somewhere quieter, somewhere without reporters and memories. We talked sometimes. She was seeing a therapist. So was the boy. They were healing, slowly, painfully. Derek sat in a maximum security prison, exactly where he belonged. My lieutenant awaited trial. Rollins was buried in a quiet ceremony attended by no one. But on quiet nights, when I was alone, I thought about all the Emily Hayeses out there. The women who vanished. The cases marked voluntary departure. The families told to move on. How many were still waiting? How many more were buried beneath sheds and lies? The Maple Hollow Gazette ran a feature story 6 months after the trial. A systems failure. How police negligence cost Emily Hayes her life. They interviewed Lydia, Patricia, even me. We all said the same things. That this shouldn't have happened. That changes were needed. That we owed it to Emily to do better. But words are easy. Change is hard. I started consulting on other cold cases across the state. Missing women, dismissed by departments. Ignored complaints. Closed investigations with no real answers. I found patterns. I found more Emily Hayeses than I wanted to believe existed. One case in particular stayed with me. A woman named Hannah Torres disappeared from her apartment in 2019. Ex-boyfriend was a state trooper. Case closed as voluntary departure. No search, no follow-up. I drove to Hannah's mother's house on a Sunday morning, showed her Emily's story, asked if she wanted help reopening the investigation. She cried, said yes, said she'd been begging for 3 years for someone to listen. I filed the paperwork that afternoon, started pulling records, made the calls, did the work that should have been done years ago, because Emily taught me something important. She taught me that silence is a choice, that looking away is a choice, that every closed case is someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's sister, and I chose to look. Derek's lawyer filed an appeal, claimed ineffective counsel, claimed the evidence was circumstantial, claimed the jury was biased by media coverage. The appeal was denied. He filed another. That was denied too. My lieutenant's trial lasted 2 weeks. He was convicted of obstruction and evidence tampering, sentenced to 7 years. He'd be out in 4 with good behavior. 7 years for helping hide a murder, for deleting evidence, for protecting a killer. It didn't feel like enough, but Lydia stood outside the courthouse and said, "At least he's finally being held accountable." That's more than Emily got for 2 years. She was right. Accountability mattered, even when justice felt incomplete. That Emily's son was 5 now. Lydia showed me a picture. He was smiling, playing at a park, happy. He didn't remember much about his mother. Lydia was working on that, building a story for him, showing him photos, teaching him that his mom loved him, that she fought for him, that she never left him willingly. One day, he'd be old enough to understand what happened, to know that his father murdered his mother, to know that police protected the killer, to know that the system failed. That I hoped, by then, we'd have something better to show him, proof that we'd learned, that we'd changed. 2 years after Emily's body was found, the town held a memorial. They planted a tree in the park, placed a plaque beneath it. Emily Hayes, beloved mother, nurse, friend, gone but never forgotten. Hundreds of people came, co-workers, patients' families, people who'd followed the case, people who wanted to show that they cared, that they saw her, that she mattered. I stood in the back, watching Lydia and her nephew place flowers by the tree. The boy touched the plaque, tracing his mother's name with small fingers. Someone approached me. An older woman, gray-haired, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not giving up." I didn't know what to say. I'd just done my job, the job that should have been done from the beginning. But she took my hand. "My daughter disappeared 10 years ago. Police said she ran away. Maybe there's hope for her case too." I took her information, promised to look into it, watched her walk away with something she hadn't had before. Hope. That was Emily's legacy. Not just justice for herself, but a door opened for others. A system forced to acknowledge its failures. A precedent set. She didn't vanish because no one could find her. She vanished because no one tried. And now, finally, we were trying. The reforms came slowly. New protocols for missing persons cases, mandatory follow-ups, third-party oversight for cases involving law enforcement families, training on recognizing domestic violence patterns, paper changes. Whether they translate to real change remained to be seen. I continued working cold cases. Found 3 more women whose disappearances were dismissed too quickly. 2 cases led nowhere. The 3rd led to an arrest. Small victories. Incremental progress. But progress nonetheless. Lydia wrote a book about Emily's case. About fighting a system that didn't want to listen. About refusing to accept the official story. It became a bestseller. She donated the proceeds to organizations supporting families of missing persons. Emily's story spread far beyond Maple Hollow. It became a cautionary tale, a rallying cry, a reminder that every closed case represents a choice someone made. I kept Emily's photo on my desk, not as decoration, as a reminder of what happens when we look away, of what we owe to the people we're supposed to protect. Some nights, I still drove past Derek's old property. The shed was torn down, the land sold. A new family lived there now, unaware of what lay beneath their garden. But I knew. I'd always known. On the 3rd anniversary of finding Emily, I visited her grave. It was a quiet cemetery on the edge of town, beneath old oak trees. Her headstone was simple: Emily Hayes, loving mother, forever in our hearts. I placed flowers by the stone and sat in the grass. Told her about the cases I'd worked, the women I'd helped, The changes, however small, that came from her story. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "Sorry it took so long. Sorry we failed you when you needed us most." The wind moved through the trees, carrying the scent of rain. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed. I thought about what I'd learned from Emily's case. That victims aren't statistics. That justice delayed is justice denied. That the people we trust to protect us sometimes need to be protected from. Emily Hayes didn't vanish because no one could find her. She vanished because no one tried. Because the system chose convenience over truth. Because powerful men valued their reputations more than her life. But her story didn't end in that shed. It ended here, with change, with accountability, with other families getting the answers they deserved. I stood up, brushed grass from my pants. Promised Emily I'd keep fighting. Keep looking. Keep asking the questions no one wants to answer. Because somewhere out there, another Emily was waiting. Another family was begging for help. Another system was choosing silence. And I refused to look away. Emily's case changed everything. But there are still so many like hers waiting to be heard. If this story moved you, smash that like button and subscribe for more real investigations that dig deeper than the headlines. Drop a comment with your thoughts. I read them all. Thanks for listening. And never stop asking questions.